Hello and good morning. I just woke up and fell out of bed into this couch with a computer in front of me and a camera on me, and I'm going to respond to a lot of the questions and the comments you've given us over the last 2 months. Because as we've grown and as this has got bigger, we have over 400 subscribers and almost 25,000 views now. It's gotten harder and harder to type out responses to everything that you guys say, but I really want to be in touch. And since we can't all have a party because we're in so many different countries and there's so many oceans between us, hopefully this comes as a close second. Question number 1, can you get me a free surfboard? No, I can't, but if you've got a cool idea for how we can give away a surfboard, let us know. If there's a really cool contest, we might be able to pull it off. So if you got any ideas, let us know. Do you get free surfboards? I don't think anyone gets free surfboards. For example, Joel Parkinson is given JS boards in exchange for promoting them through winning WCT contests. Now, no one's ever given me a surfboard for free, but I do have surfboards in my garage that I haven't had to pay for, and I think that's really cool. How'd you get started with this endeavor? Simply, we just wanted to talk about surfboards and promote surfboard discussion because we think that not enough people are promoting surfboards online and there's too many conversations about the apparel companies. And the truth is that no one in Nebraska would want to buy a Superbrand t-shirt if it wasn't for surfboards. So we just want to support the people who build surfboards. That's why we started this. Can you talk about Forth surfboards? If you don't know who Forth surfboards are, they're shaped by Luke Hart in the United Kingdom. We spoke to Luke. Luke is a really cool guy. We actually talked over a period of a few days, and we both really wanted to do something. The thing is, he's in the United Kingdom, and he has to ship boards all the way to California to get them on the show, and he doesn't even sell boards in California. He doesn't even have boards in Australia. So at the moment, because of all the space in between us and because Forth is relatively small, we're not going to be able to feature Forth's boards, but hopefully in the future we'll be able to figure something out. Luke is a really cool guy. All of his shapes are well thought out, and I had a really good experience getting to know him and talking to him a little bit. Do you know Gary Vaynerchuk? No, I don't know Gary Vaynerchuk, but I know why you're asking. Some of our first episodes were similar to the format of a Wine Library TV episode. If you don't know what Wine Library TV is, Google it. It's interesting and it's entertaining. Where is Studio Shred? Studio Shred is in San Diego. Why the F does this board cost $750? Really good question. There is this common misconception that when you pay $700 for a surfboard or $600 for a surfboard, you're getting ripped off. That is not true. Surfboards are very expensive to make, and the rough economics of a surfboard ending up in your hands kind of looks like this. To build that surfboard, it costs probably $290 to $320. That surfboard is then sold to a surf shop, which basically buys that surfboard for, I don't know, like around $500. And then that surfboard is sold to you for like $600, $650, maybe as much as $700, depending on where you are. And everyone in that process has got to make money. Now, if you buy a board from your local shaper, or if you get one custom, then you pay $400, $500 or something like that. That's a really great deal too. The thing is, if you buy like a Channel Islands biscuit, you're paying for the labor, the materials, all the intelligence that went into that. You're paying for cost of shipping boards to pros all over the world. If you buy a board from the guy next door, you're paying for his labor, his experience, etc. So if you buy a board for $500 or $400 from the guy next door, that's a great deal. If you buy a board from a surf shop for $600, $700, that's a really good deal too. I mean, you're getting a fair deal for these handmade, intricate pieces of art that give you a lot of fun in the ocean. Next question. Can you do boards by Superbrand, the Masta, Blasta, Craft, Toy, etc.? Yeah, we have a relationship with Superbrand. That'll be really easy. Can you review a Lost, Mini Driver, Couch Potato, Lazy Boy, Subdriver, etc.? Yes, that'll be easy. We've got a relationship with Lost. We'll be able to do all those soon. Can you talk about the Proctor, Rascal 2, Bullet, Ellipse, etc.? I actually just swapped some emails with Todd this morning, and hopefully we'll be able to work something out with Todd, because Todd is an interesting case, because Proctor Surfboards, if you look up some of their boards, there's really good videos of Todd talking about his boards and why he designed them the way he did in his shaping bay. He just doesn't seem to upload them as much recently. So hopefully we'll be able to talk about Proctor boards, because they're really good boards, and Proctor's a really interesting guy. Can you feature JC boards? JC is in Hawaii, so again that comes to the issue of there's oceans between us. Surfboards are a really like geographically oriented product. There's a lot of guys in Hawaii who make great boards, Arakawa for example, Eric Arakawa, but all his boards are in Hawaii. You really can't find him in California. Same with JC, but we'll see if we can work something out. Why do you rub surfboards so much? I rub surfboards because, well, first of all, it just feels good. If you've ever gone to a surf shop and just felt a surfboard, they feel really, really cool. I like doing it as much as anyone else. But the interesting thing is I've actually had people tell us that they like watching our videos on mute. Hopefully not because they hate my voice, but just because they like imagining they're touching and rubbing new surfboards. So, also, when you're touching a surfboard, you can feel its curves, its designs, etc. And it can help you understand how a board is going to work. So that's why I rub surfboards. Can you talk about Bill Johnson boards? Yeah, Bill Johnson actually is in Oceanside, and I never knew this. I'm in San Diego. Bill Johnson is in Oceanside. I thought he was in Florida, so we'll reach out to Bill Johnson. We'll see what we can do. Can you do a mini Simmons? Yeah, doing a mini Simmons would be really cool. If you've got any specific mini Simmons by a particular shaper, let us know, because a lot of shapers have their own take on what a mini Simmons is in terms of the subtle ways they design it. And if there's any specific one that you want us to talk about, tell us and we'll see what we can do. Can you do boards by Christensen? Christensen's cool. If you're not familiar with Christensen Surfboards, not only does he have a really cool take on design and the type of boards that he makes, but he's got like the most hardcore logo in all of surfing. It's just a skull, which is totally different than what the mass media and the general public thinks surfing is. So Christensen's cool, and hope so. I'll reach out to Christensen. I haven't spoke to him at all. I don't know him, but we'll see what we can do. How would you define a lost whip? Should I do all this? There's a lot of questions specifically about boards, but I think I'm going to skip those for now because they're specific board questions. But since I started this one, I will answer this one. How would you define a lost whiplash working in steamer lane conditions? Honestly, it depends on the day. Taj Burrow won that contest at steamer lane on a lost whiplash. Personally, unfortunately, I'm constricted by my own experiences and my own preferences. I personally wouldn't want to surf a whiplash at steamer lane because it's too much of a short board, and all of my experiences at steamer lane have been on like fatter days where it's a bigger face, it's more wide open, and I'd want a little bit more foam, a little bit less rocker. So personally for me, I wouldn't surf a lost whiplash at steamer lane that often, but if you're a ripper, then by all means, you can surf that board anywhere. Where are we at here? Can you do a video about quads versus thrusters? Yeah, in the Superbrand Vapors episode, which I think is episode 11, I talk a little bit about quads versus tri-fins, and I talk about using quads in smaller waves. That's a good question though, and we'll see what we can do in the future as far as talking about specifically quads versus thrusters. Why don't you get featured in Stab, Surfer, Surfing, Trends World, etc.? Well, we got featured in Surfer Magazine, so there you go. Can you talk about JS boards, the Quick Shift, the Monster, the Pure Pony, etc.? Yeah, I actually spoke to some guys from JS. JS, I really want to talk about their boards. I think they're awesome. I think of them as kind of like the Channel Islands of Australia. The catch is, they're in Australia. There's a lot of water between us, and we'll see what we can do. But I really want to. The Quick Shift is interesting because it's designed by Luke Egan, who is a really big guy. And when you've got a pro surfer who's a big dude, like Big Louie is, that gives other big surfers all over the world the chance to get a shortboard designed for a big guy who actually can rip all waves on that type of board. So hopefully we can do something with JS. I really want to. We'll see what we can do. If you don't work at a surf shop, how do you get so good at analyzing boards? The little bit of knowledge that I have about surfboards comes from talking to shapers, asking really good questions, and reading and surfing a lot of different boards. So if you want to understand surfboard design, it's just talk to shapers, ask good questions, and a quick way to do this is to buy like cheaper kind of junky boards on Craigslist that you can get for cheap that no one else really wants, because even if you can get like 5 or 6 surfs out of a board before it dies, it'll give you some insight into how different shapes work, and that's a lot cheaper than going and buying like 10 new boards. Next question. Can you get a second camera hung from the ceiling in Studio Shred looking down to get a perfect outline picture? That's a really good suggestion. I don't know. We will see. I'm not super technically inclined, so I'm not really sure how we'd switch camera angles from like above my head to in front of me. I don't know exactly how that would work, but we will look into it. Can you talk about Rusty boards, the Neil Diamond, the Piranha, etc.? We did talk about the Rusty Slayer in episode 1, and I have spoken to some guys at Rusty. I'm not sure if Rusty will work. Rusty actually has done something pretty big with Budweiser recently, and they kind of might think that we're like garage shop and small, and they might not really be into it. But I hope so, because Rusty has a really unique take on surfboards. And I've never spoken to Rusty directly, but I have spent some time with Mike Russo, who shapes for Rusty, and their take on using wings to step down the area of the planing surface of a board I think is unique, and they focus a lot more on wings than most surfboard designers do. So hopefully we can talk about Rusty boards in the future. Can you do the Channel Islands boards, Cheese Stick, Tilo, Whip, Black Flag, Whip, Proton, etc.? Yeah, no problem. Channel Islands, we'll do all those eventually. We're going to get to them. Can you do Firewire boards, the Potato-nator, Dominator, etc.? Firewire is cool. We spoke to Firewire. They were down to do something, but the timing's not really right for them. So hopefully in the future we can work something out with Firewire. Last question. Have you thought about doing some older models? Yeah, that'd be really cool. What older models do you want? When we started this show, we weren't sure if anyone would want to talk about the older stuff or alternative or retro designs, but we have got some interest in those things. So if you got suggestions on what kind of boards you want that are older, let us know. So that wraps up our first little question and answer video. If you want to say hi, do so in the comments. You want to say hi, do it on Twitter, @ChrisGrow. And thank you for all the involvement. The coolest thing about doing this is the comments, the likes, the emails you send us, the Twitter replies. That's really awesome. So thanks for doing that. Really hope to talk to you guys soon.